Alright, be honest with me. How many of y'all have given up on Solana? Well, if you raised your hand, then I think you're making a huge mistake. You see, during this past bear market, Solana took the time to fix its biggest problems, and now it's set to outperform come next bull market. In fact, I'm so confident about this that I'm scooping up as much SOL as I possibly can. And I think it'll easily do a 15x from these current levels. Now that may be hard to believe right now, but I think things will become much more clear after you hear my 4-part case as to why Solana will rise from the ashes and prove everyone wrong. So let's start with part 1, the fact that Solana is resilient as hell. You see, after FTX collapsed, Solana was left without its biggest supporter, and the price of SOL dropped from $250 all the way down to around $10, a whopping 96% drop. So it really seemed like Solana was dead. That's what I thought, at least. But when I started to look into Solana again, I found some things that really surprised me. Like their daily active addresses has held steady at around 300,000 for all of 2023. And that puts them on par with Ethereum and Polygon, at least for that metric. Also, Solana's transaction volumes have rebounded, but this time to pre-FTX levels. But I think what's most encouraging is that Solana is top 4 in terms of daily fees generated. It's always a good thing when crypto projects are generating revenue, and Solana is doing better than Polygon and Cardano on that front. Anyways, all these points combined is probably why the price of SOL has surged almost 150% since January of this year. That means Solana is now back in the top 10 on CoinMarketCap. So clearly the market does not think that Solana is dead. But an even bigger point here is that SBF and FTX are now gone, which did hurt Solana in the short term, but now it's proven to be a blessing in disguise. One huge criticism in the past was that FTX and Alameda were practicing vulture capitalism with their projects in the Solana ecosystem. They would launch projects with shady tokenomics, like 1% of the supply circulating, and basically they'd all turn out to be pump and dumps. It became very apparent that their actions were turning the Solana ecosystem into a toxic wasteland, and I actually made a video about that back in the day. Anyways, now that they're gone, Solana can finally rise from the ashes and build a new reputation for itself without all the baggage. And guess who benefits the most from that? Well, it's the Solana developers that never asked for any of that funny business. They just wanted to build useful projects, and now they can. That's actually part 2 of my case, that Solana's developer scene is thriving and they've been launching some top tier technology. Check this out, as of June 1st, Solana's number of full-time developers is 4th amongst all blockchains. That means there's more devs working in Solana than Cardano, Avalanche, and even Bitcoin. And here's the thing, while we shouldn't focus on quality over quantity, having more devs usually means that a project can ship new features faster. And that's exactly what Solana has been doing. They launched a new compiler called Solang, which makes it possible for Ethereum devs to easily write dApps on Solana. This is massive because Ethereum has by far the most developers out of any blockchain, and up to this point, they could not easily build on Solana unless they learned a totally different smart contract language. But now with Solang and projects like Neon EVM, that's about to change. And I predict that a huge wave of Ethereum dApps will move over to Solana in the near future. But honestly, there's another part of Solana's tech that I'm even more impressed about, and that's their network performance. If you followed Solana at all for the past few years, you'll know how everyone makes fun of them for crashing when demand gets too high. But did you know that Solana has had a 100% uptime since the start of this year? Yep, it's true, and it's mainly due to a new version of their mainnet that they launched. So now even during times of peak activity, Solana has kept chugging along, which I got to applaud them for. Also, another feature that they launched is called state compression, which makes storing data on-chain ridiculously cheap. We're talking about minting 100 million NFTs on-chain for as low as 50 SOL. Now that's what I call accessibility. But anyways, I could list more tech upgrades or features for days, but the takeaway here is that the Solana developer community is stronger than ever, and their network is performing better than ever too. That's why I think Solana is truly ready to take that next step. But what is that next step, you may be wondering? Well, that brings us to part 3 of my case, that Solana is finally ready to support the groundbreaking projects in its ecosystem. But before we get there, if you're itching to buy or trade some SOL already, then a great place to do so is Kraken Pro, also the sponsor of our video. Check this out, this is their newly refreshed interface, and I'm looking at the SOL chart where I can add indicators to find my ideal entry. But that's not all, they also have this analytics page which shows us advanced metrics for the SOL markets, like rolling volatility, order book stats, and aggressor differential. Those are metrics not widely available on third-party tools. So it's important to use Kraken Pro to analyze them before you trade SOL or any other crypto coin for that matter. But lastly, another reason to trade SOL on Kraken Pro is that they offer perpetual futures if you live in a country where that's available. Honestly, there are a bunch of different platforms that offer perpetual futures these days, but do any of them have the stellar reputation or track record of Kraken? In my opinion, no. That's why I think everyone should try out Kraken Pro, whether you're a beginner or advanced trader, whether you trade spot or futures, or whether you want to hodl or stake if it's available in your region. They have something for everyone, so just go check them out, use my link below. Alright, back to part 3, which is the groundbreaking ecosystem projects. There's actually a whole bunch of projects here that I could make into a separate top Solana ecosystem projects video. But alas, that would take too long in this video, so I'll just give you a few gems to check out. In the DeFi space, they have Jito, which is kind of like Lido Finance or Rocket Pool in terms of being liquid staking. But Jito is special because it is MEV boosted as well, which I'm not going to explain in this video, but just know that it means stakers can get extra rewards with this approach. Also, MarginFi and Cypher are both on the up and up in terms of liquidity metrics, and those are definitely worth keeping an eye on. But honestly, while Solana's DeFi is promising, what I'm most bullish about is their GameFi niche. Remember, Solana created a $150 million fund just to incubate these GameFi or Web3 gaming projects. And now we're starting to see some signs of life. We've had some games go live already in Monkey League, Clayscape, and Bladewright. But the truly groundbreaking games are yet to fully launch, like Star Atlas and BR1 Infinite. I'm super excited about those because they look super polished, or AAA quality like those in the gaming world might say. And that's honestly what we need for Web3 games to really take off and proves the haters wrong. Now, DeFi and GameFi are great, but they're kind of old news as far as niches go. But Solana has a new niche that's developing in its ecosystem called DPIN that other blockchains don't have. DPIN stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Networks, which just means that they are using crypto to improve physical networks like the internet, electrical grids, or transportation. And the most notable project here is Helium, which is building a decentralized wireless network that both machines and people can access. What's really interesting here is that they started out with their own blockchain infrastructure, but they made the huge decision to migrate over to Solana. They actually spent a lot of time analyzing the different options out there, and they concluded that Solana had everything they need. That's why I think all the DPIN projects will eventually decide to build on Solana, because their fast speeds and low fees are perfect for this use case. Alright, so be honest with me, are you super bullish on Solana by now? Well, if you aren't quite yet, then part 4 of my case will surely convince you. And that's Solana's unique consumer strategy that no other blockchain has. You see, the crypto world mostly caters to developers and degenerates more than the real world consumers. But that's where Solana looks to differentiate itself. Like, check this out. They have their Saga smartphone, right? That's the kind of product that we're used to seeing from big tech companies like Apple or Google, not a crypto project. But their phone is a premium Android device and has received a lot of early praise. It even comes with something called Seed Vault that stores private keys and lets users use their fingerprint sensor to sign transactions with ease. That's not all, because Solana Labs also launched a ChatGPT plugin recently. With this plugin, users can buy and list NFTs, transfer tokens, review transactions, interpret data, and even discover NFT collections by floor price. So it's kind of like having our own personal assistant in Solana land. And for those of you using the Brave browser, you now have access to this Solana name service, which means you can connect your .sol account and browse censorship-resistant websites there. So basically in the future, we may be using our Saga phones, asking AI to do on-chain stuff for us, approving those transactions with our fingerprints, and interacting with dApps with our .sols in our Brave browsers. Yes, I know we're still at least a few years away from all that, but you got people like Raoul Pal calling Solana a quote, consumer application chain. And personally, I think that's quite fitting. Anyways, I know you're itching for a price prediction, so here we go. I think the best way to gauge Sol's future potential is to compare it to Ether's performance last cycle. Back in 2018, ETH dropped over 90% down to around $80. But in a few short years, it did a 50x and rocketed to over $4,000 at the peak of the next cycle. So with Sol hitting a low of let's say around $10 during this bear market, I think it can easily 30x from those levels to $300. That means even now at around $25, there's close to 15x upside. And with everything listed in my 4-part case, I think it could go even higher than that. But what do you think about my case and my prediction? If you liked it, perhaps you should watch this video on Polygon or this video on ETH, as I'm also super bullish on those two.